Hey everyone, and welcome back to All Things Money. We're diving deep today into some serious business advice.
Yeah, we're talking about advice from a guy who, well, he really knows how to make it rain, you know?
Exactly. We watched Alex Hormozi's YouTube video.
13 years of no BS business advice in 79 minutes.
Ew.
And it is jam-packed with actionable insights, let me tell you.
Okay, so are you ready to level up your money game?
I think so.
Let's go. One of the first things that really stood out to me was this thing he calls the whale anchor pricing strategy.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean.
It's this idea of like having a super high price offer.
Right.
Even if you never really expect anyone to buy it.
Yeah, it's almost like a psychological thing, right? It plays with how people see value.
Exactly.
A super high price, it anchors everything else.
Yeah.
Makes your other offerings look way more reasonable.
Oh, definitely attractive even.
Yeah.
So it's like suddenly that mid-tier package looks like, ooh, a steal.
Oh.
And you know what? Hormozi said that 10% of his customers actually went for his highest priced option.
Wow. It's amazing how that works, isn't it? Kind of makes you rethink that whole fear of pricing too high.
For sure.
Sometimes aiming high can actually bring in a whole new segment of customers, people willing to pay a premium.
The premium segment, yeah.
The ones you might not even have been thinking about.
Exactly. And then he told this really funny story about how, no one even recognized him during his book launch.
Oh, yeah.
And it's after all the marketing he'd done, it was the perfect setup for his next point.
Which is?
You are more forgettable than you think. And you need to advertise way more than you think.
Oh, that's so true, especially these days.
Doesn't it?
Everyone's attention is just pulled in so many directions.
It's fragmented.
Yeah. Marketers have a term for it, effective frequency. It means, basically, it takes seeing a message multiple times before it really sticks.
Makes sense. So the takeaway is, don't be shy about reminding people what you offer.
Definitely. Be consistent, be creative, keep putting your message out there.
All right, so you're everywhere, you're advertising like crazy. Does that mean you're set for success?
Well, not necessarily. Especially if you're just starting out. If your business is under $100,000 a month, Hormozi has some pretty clear advice. Focus.
Focus, right?
Yeah, pick one channel,
Right.
one target customer,
Right.
and one product.
Got it.
Nail those down before you even think about expanding.
It's like the Pareto principle, right? 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Find that 20%.
Make that your superpower.
Now, one of my favorite strategies he talked about was starting with something free. I mean, it's like a game changer.
Right, offering something valuable for free up front.
Yes, it builds trust, it attracts customers.
It totally breaks down those walls, that initial skepticism people have.
Totally.
It lets your expertise do the talking. They see the value firsthand.
Yeah.
And then they're more likely to invest later.
And guess what? He uses this strategy even in his multi-million-dollar businesses.
Really? Wow, so he actually walks the talk. That's awesome.
Oh, he does. Which brings us to proof over promises.
Okay, so less talk, more action.
Exactly. Don't just hype things up. Let your results speak for themselves.
It's about showing, not telling.
Yeah.
Right.
Testimonials, case studies, visual proof. That's what convinces people.
Absolutely, because they can see it, they can hear it from other people who've already experienced what you offer.
Exactly. And he gives these awesome tips on how to gather that proof and present it.
Okay, make it really grab people's attention.
Make it powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got your proof, you've established yourself. Now, what about pricing?
Pricing, right. Well, get this. Hormozi says that raising prices often leads to more profit.
Wait, really? Even if you get fewer sales?
Even if you get fewer sales. He actually shared an example. He doubled his price, and even though he got fewer conversions, his profit margins went way up.
Wow.
It's all about understanding that balance between price and how many people are actually going to buy.
Price elasticity.
Exactly. And your break-even point, he encourages people to experiment with different price points.
Okay, so don't be afraid to try things out.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to hear no more often.
Because sometimes a no can lead to a better yes.
Exactly. You've got to find that sweet spot where you're getting the most value and your customers are happy too.
Speaking of customers, he talks a lot about talking to your customers. And not just the happy ones.
Oh, that's interesting. You mean getting feedback from everyone?
Everyone. Good and bad. It's super valuable.
Oh, I can see that. It helps you figure out what's working, what's not.
Right, what needs improvement.
And ultimately, it helps you build better relationships with your customers.
Exactly. He actually uses those cancellation calls as opportunities
What do you mean?
to learn. He tries to turn things around.
Oh, wow. He really takes it seriously.
He does. It's about turning a negative situation into something positive.
Yeah, a learning experience.
Exactly. Okay, next up, we're talking about something I think everyone struggles with. Shiny object syndrome.
Oh, tell me about it.
Hormozi says, maximize what's already working before you jump onto the next big thing.
Okay, so don't get distracted.
Exactly. He calls it 10x before you pivot.
10x before you pivot, all right?
It's about squeezing every bit of potential out of your current strategies.
So not leaving money on the table.
Exactly. And his analogy for this is great, if a bit intense. He says, beat the living hell out of what's working.
Whoa, okay. I get the point, though. Focus on what's working. Don't get distracted by the next shiny new thing.
Exactly. And this isn't just some theory for him. He didn't even think about adding a second customer acquisition channel until his business was hitting $4 million a month.
$4 million a month. Wow. Talk about patience.
Right. Patience and persistence. He's living proof it works. Okay, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of sales conversations.
I'm ready.
Hormozi gives us this framework.
Okay.
He calls it the closer framework.
All right, the closer.
It's a step-by-step system for structuring your sales conversations.
Oh, interesting. So it helps you close more deals.
More deals. It's especially useful for anyone new to sales, or if you're struggling to create, a process that actually works.
So it makes things repeatable.
Repeatable and teachable.
Nice.
It breaks the conversation down into clear steps.
All right, like a roadmap to success. What are the steps?
Clarify, label, overview, sell the vacation, explain away concerns, and reinforce the decision.
That's pretty comprehensive.
It is, and it's super powerful, especially if you're building a sales team.
Absolutely. Everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Now, another important point he makes is that sales and marketing shouldn't be separate.
Oh, I see. They should work together.
Work together as a unified force, both focused on the same goal, getting those customers.
Makes sense. It's easy for those departments to become, siloed. But when they work together, the customer experience is so much better.
It's a smoother journey.
Yeah, smoother journey. And everyone's working towards the same goal.
All right, brace yourself for a dose of reality now.
Okay, hit me.
Hormozi says, embrace the stress that comes with business.
Embrace the stress. That's an interesting way to put it.
Right. But it's true. Whether you're growing or stuck or even declining, stress is gonna be there.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the journey, isn't it?
It is, and he says accepting that reality helps you make better decisions.
Okay. You're not letting your emotions drive you.
Exactly. And he pointed out something really interesting. Those problems that felt so huge a few years ago
Yeah.
probably seem insignificant now, right?
That's true.
He says, future you will probably feel the same way about your problems today.
Okay, so it's all about perspective.
Perspective. And remember how we talked about billing cycles?
Yeah, the look back window thing.
Exactly. Well, he says that customers tend to judge a purchase based on their most recent experience.
That makes sense.
So he suggests billing less often
Less often. Why?
to extend that window, smooth out any bumps along the way.
Okay, so instead of monthly billing, maybe go for quarterly or even annually.
Exactly. That way, if there's a month where things aren't great, it doesn't freak the customer out.
They have more time to see the bigger picture.
Exactly. Plus, it reduces churn and leads to higher customer lifetime value. It's a win-win.
A win-win. I like that.
And speaking of win-win, remember that sawdust analogy?
Oh, yeah, the one about finding ways to make money from things you're already doing.
Exactly. He calls it selling your sawdust, and he gives some great examples,
Like what?
like renting out unused space, or selling data insights, or repurposing content for a different audience.
Wow, he's really good at finding those hidden opportunities.
He is, and he encourages us to do the same.
Yeah.
All right, for those of you building sales teams, listen up.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Hormozi says, arm your salespeople.
Arm them. What does he mean by that?
Give them the resources and support they need to be successful.
Okay, so give them the tools to do their job well.
Exactly. Things like a knowledge base of FAQs, scripts for handling those tough objections, inspiring customer success stories.
Oh, I see. So they're not going in blind.
Right. And it makes their jobs easier. And it frees up your time as a business owner.
It's about setting them up for success.
Exactly. And he really stresses that sales and marketing should be aligned.
Like working together as a team.
As a team, yes. Not as separate departments.
I can see how that would be more effective.
Right. He even suggests having a single chief revenue officer,
Oh, to oversee both?
both sales and marketing. That way, everyone's on the same page.
Okay, so a unified strategy.
A unified strategy. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about company culture.
Okay, company culture, important stuff.
Super important. Hormozi believes in promoting and empowering people with high standards.
High standards, okay.
Yeah, regardless of how long they've been with the company.
So it's not about seniority, it's about performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He says, the people who deserve those leadership roles are the ones who consistently go above and beyond.
They set the bar high.
They set the bar high. And when it comes to building a team, he emphasizes raising the average with each new hire.
That makes sense. Each new person should make the team stronger.
Stronger, better. He says, be intentional with your hiring process.
So don't just settle for anyone.
Don't just settle. Find those A players, the ones who are going to contribute and make the team better.
I like that.
He also has this great framework for dealing with performance issues. You know, those times when someone's not meeting expectations.
Yeah, every manager has to deal with that at some point.
It's tough. But he outlines 5 main reasons why someone might not be performing well.
Okay, what are they?
Didn't know how, didn't know when, didn't want to, or something's blocking them.
That's helpful. It helps you pinpoint the problem.
It does. It's about having those tough conversations, but in a constructive way.
So you're not just blaming or punishing.
Exactly. You're working together to find a solution.
I like that approach. It's much more positive and supportive.
It is. And finally, to wrap up all this amazing advice, Hormozi reminds us to embrace the unknown.
Embrace the unknown. Okay, how do we do that?
Step outside your comfort zone. Be willing to fail. And remember that the biggest growth comes from tackling the things you don't know how to do yet.
So it's all about pushing yourself, challenging yourself.
Exactly. He even shared a story about how he struggled to learn how to run a family office.
Oh, wow, something completely new for him.
Totally new.
Yeah.
And he emphasized that even with all his research, the real learning happened when he actually started doing it.
So sometimes you just have to dive in.
Dive in and figure it out as you go.
Yeah, that's when the real learning happens. He also said something that really stuck with me. Learning is same condition new behavior.
Whoa.
It's like, if your life looks the same after you've learned something new, did you really learn it?
Deep. It's a challenge to actually apply what we learn.
To take action, to make
To
changes.
see real results. It's not enough to just know something. You have to put it into practice.
I think that's a great place to leave it for today. We've covered a lot of ground, and there's a lot to think about. It's about taking that knowledge and turning it into, actual changes in our lives.
Right, not just knowing it, but doing it.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words, as they say.
For sure.